Exposed. Billionaire's incredible transformation after Heiress slaps woman at Gala, a life-changing moment. Mary took a deep breath. This was it, the night that would pull her out of her small Midwestern town and into the heart of New York City's elite. The gala glittered like the stars stuck in the velvet backdrop of the universe. Everything felt surreal. Diamond chandeliers hung above her, casting light in prisms across the polished marble floor. She felt like an imposter among the glamorous socialites. Just months ago, her biggest worry was caring for her sick mother. Now she stood in a stunning black dress, somehow feeling out of place yet exhilarated. As she stood there, memories of Jessica flooded back. Jessica, her childhood best friend, had once roamed the streets of their small town with wild abandon, their laughter echoing against the modest homes. But life took a different turn. While Mary struggled with bills and ailing parents, Jessica floated on a cloud of wealth, now draped in designer gowns, sparkling with unmatched charisma, a queen amongst subjects. Then, without warning, a commotion erupted. A waitress, flawless in her crisp white shirt, stumbled, spilling champagne across the pristine carpet. The gasp that rippled through the room echoed in Mary's ears. Jessica's reaction was astonishing. Her hand slapped the waitress hard, the sound cracking like a thunderclap in the silent room. The bold display of entitlement struck Mary right in the heart. She could be that waitress, just another nameless face absorbed into the grind of the rich and privileged. Fueled by indignation, Mary took a step forward. "How dare you!" Her voice rose above the murmurs, shaking with disbelief. The crowd turned, breath held, all eyes on them, Jessica's polished facade cracking under pressure. "She's working hard while you play at being important. Have you forgotten where you came from?" Jessica's eyes widened, a flash of something, fear? Anger? The sparkle in her eyes dulled momentarily. But before Mary could process the moment, a tall figure stepped closer. David, the billionaire, stood frozen, his expression unreadable. He towered over the gathering, a juxtaposition of wealth and looming uncertainty. He had always been someone they whispered about, this man with the icy demeanor. But at that moment, as his gaze alternated between Mary and Jessica, Mary recognized a flicker, a stirring within him. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. The tension hung in the air. David caught Mary's gaze, and for the first time, he seemed real to her, a relic of a forgotten world that Mary had fought to escape. "This isn't right," he said quietly, an undeniable weight to his voice. "I don't think I've ever seen such a truth laid bare in this world of illusion." Mary's heart raced. Her voice trembled as she responded, feeling like a spark in a dry forest. "You have the power to change this, don't just stand there." As David contemplated her words, the rift in the room deepened, revealing raw emotions that were rarely addressed among the wealthy. Could someone like him genuinely make a difference? And as Mary stood here, what would her role be? With each second, the realization grew heavier, bringing both hope and apprehension. As David extended his hand toward Mary, a new path shimmered with possibility, their fates intertwined amidst the glittering chaos. But could they bridge the divide created by years of lost connections? Could they rewrite the story of loss, privilege, and understanding? With questions lingering in her mind, Mary knew there was more to unfold, and she couldn't ignore the pull of destiny waiting around the corner. Mary's heart raced as David's strong hand hovered near hers. It felt surreal, like a scene ripped from a movie, yet every pulse of her heartbeat reminded her that this was real. The crowd held its breath, their whispered judgments hanging thick in the air. She dared to hope that this could be the moment that ignited a fire of change, but dread curled in her stomach. She had everything to lose, yet why did she feel so alive at that moment? David finally stepped forward, his presence commanding. "You're right," he said, locking eyes with her. For a moment, the world around them faded into the background, just the two of them standing at the edge of a precipice. I want to be more than just a bystander. Jessica's expression was a mix of shock and disbelief, as though the very foundation of her reality was crumbling. Mary could see the gears turning in her mind. How could she regain control? David, you can't believe her. This is just a desperate attempt to draw attention, she blurted out, desperation oozing from each word. But David didn't waver. He looked back at Mary, and for the first time, a glimmer of respect flickered in his eyes. You're not desperate. You're speaking the truth. The echoes of his endorsement sent a ripple through the audience. Mary swallowed hard, a blend of gratitude and terror washing over her. Could they really fight against the structured hierarchy that had always kept them apart? Would David stand beside her if they ventured deeper into this abyss of privilege? Mary, wait! Jessica cried, her voice trembling. You're making a mistake. Think about this. This isn't your world. You're just hurting yourself. In that instant, Mary weighed the stakes. Years of struggle versus a chance to undo a lifetime of feeling invisible. Maybe I'm done not belonging, she shot back, adrenaline surging. David took a step closer, gesturing for silence. Jessica, perhaps you need to reflect on your place in this world too. We can't keep ignoring the people who make our lives comfortable. Mary is right. We're at a turning point. The tension escalated once more, lingering in the air like the scent of expensive perfume mixed with anxiety. Mixed whispers filled the ballroom, some supportive of Mary, others wary of David being questioned. For the first time that night, cracks had appeared in the pristine wall of wealth that separated them all. As the realization sank in, something shifted within Mary. She was no longer merely a visitor in a foreign land, she was a catalyst for change. If we don't stand up now, nothing will change, she breathed. The emotion rolled off her tongue as if it had been trapped inside, begging for release. We must be a voice for those who don't have one. David nodded, determination radiating from him. Let us use this moment. Let us bring attention to those who too often remain invisible. The clinking of champagne flutes ceased, replaced by a heavy stillness, as eyes turned from the elite sneering at Mary to the billionaire revealing a vulnerability they had never seen. A collective question hung in the air: could they really change the unchangeable? Suddenly, a woman from the back of the room stepped forward, her frail hand raised. I've been waiting for someone to finally say it. I've been so afraid. That voice shattered the silence and signaled a turning tide. Mary's heart leaped. Could they find allies in the most unexpected places? But as the crowd began to stir, a flash of fear crossed Jessica's face that suggested she wouldn't let this go easily. This battle had only just begun, and Mary could feel the weight of the future bearing down on her. Would courage lead them forward, or would fear bring them crashing down? The tension in the air thickened as whispers cascaded through the crowd. Mary's heart electrified her limbs, pushing her to step forward. All eyes were on her, waiting for her next move, and she could feel David's steady gaze anchoring her. It was as if his trust breathed life into her courage. Jessica stumbled slightly, trying to gather herself. You don't know what you're doing, she said, her voice strained, desperation creeping into her tone. This isn't just about some speech. You're making a fool of yourself and dragging him down with you. Mary took a deep breath, fortifying her resolve against Jessica's words. Maybe being a fool for something real is worth it, she replied, her voice rising. How many more people need to suffer before we start listening? The crowd shifted, eyes darting between Jessica and Mary, and then back to David, whose expression hardened. Jessica, don't you see? This isn't about us anymore. We can't keep pretending while others suffer in silence. A murmur broke loose among the attendees. Mary sensed a crack in the elite facade surrounding her. People exchanged glances, some nodding in agreement, while others tightened their grip on their champagne flutes as apprehension ran through them. Suddenly, the woman from the back of the room stepped closer, her voice quavering but passionate. I've been waiting. Waiting for someone strong enough to say what we all feel, she said, looking around, her hand trembling but her gaze steady. We deserve to be heard. We can't just sit here while others are pushed aside like they don't matter. Mary's heart swelled with hope. This woman, so full of vulnerability, was echoing the very thoughts that had plagued Mary's mind for so long. Maybe they were not so alone after all. Jessica's defiance faltered for a moment, but she regrouped quickly. "You're risking everything. This scandal isn't just going to blow over," she warned, her voice tightening as fear settled in her features. Mary wondered if Jessica saw just how tightly she clung to the old way of life and the power it afforded her. It was a stranglehold in a world teetering on the brink of change. "Maybe we need to risk everything," David said, his voice soft but filled with conviction. "If not now, when?" It felt like a boundary line had been drawn. Mary squeezed her fists, feeling adrenaline surge through her. "It's not just about us, it's about everyone who feels like they don't belong. Who's tired of being silenced. We can break this down together." Each statement built on the last, her voice growing louder, stronger. The energy in the room shifted again, an undercurrent of something electric. Mary could see faces before her transforming, walls of indifference crumbling brick by brick. In that moment, she knew this was bigger than any one person, it was about a shared humanity. But just as the tide seemed ready to turn, a sharp voice sliced through the air, freezing all in place. "What are you trying to accomplish, Mary?" A man in an impeccable suit called from the back. "Do you really think you can change anything here?" Mary felt her stomach drop. Doubt crept in like a shadow, but she forced it back. "Yes," she shouted, feeling the pulse of every heart around her. "Why can't we at least try?" The crowd erupted into mixed reactions. Some applauded, some murmured in disbelief. Mary's heart raced in a new way, both exhilarated and scared as she looked back at David. Could they truly unite this room full of people? The stakes loomed higher than ever, and the storm of change tossed them all in different directions. With determination, David took both Mary and the woman's hands in his, raising them high as a sign of unity. "Let us not just stand here. Let us move forward." His voice reverberated through the ballroom. Mary could feel eyes turned towards them, a strange cocktail of hostility and hope. Would they be ready to change with them, or would fear keep them shackled? As the crowd began to murmur, Mary's heart raced. She knew they stood on the brink of something monumental. All she could do was hold on tightly and brace for the answer that was about to unfold. Would this moment shift the tide? Or would it all come crashing down around them, leaving them isolated once more? Mary felt the weight of the moment settle on her shoulders like a heavy cloak. She could hear the nervous chatter growing louder, a mixture of excitement and apprehension swirling around her. The stakes felt colossal, each breath she took seeming to echo the heartbeat of the room. Suddenly, a voice broke through the whispers. "If we are going to change anything, we need a plan," a tall man with an air of authority declared, stepping forward. He looked at Mary, his dark eyes calculating. "Standing here and shouting isn't enough. We need action." The atmosphere shivered. Would they shift from mere words to a real movement? The man's challenge hung in the air like a fragile glass waiting to shatter. Mary took a moment to process his words. Planning was essential, she knew that, but what kind of action? Should they march outside, grab placards and shout? Was it logical to think a few speeches could dismantle years of complacency? "Right," David said, not missing a beat. "But we need to unite everyone, regardless of background or status. We have the numbers, we just need to harness that." He turned his gaze back to the crowd, his voice rising. "We must stand together. We can craft a diverse coalition, focus our energy, and push for change." The crowd was reacting more openly now, heads bobbed in agreement, and hands were raised to applaud. A sense of hope pulsed through Mary's chest, her earlier trepidation giving way to determination. She wanted to lead them beyond just words. "Perhaps we organize meetings, community outreach," Mary urged, her mind racing with ideas. "We need to show everyone that change is possible. That we're serious." From the corner of her eye, she noticed Jessica's features tighten, her face a mask of disbelief. The elite heiress could feel her comfortable world shifting under her feet. An opportunity had cracked open for those who had never felt seen. The weight of that knowledge made Mary's heart swell. standing up against injustice, amplifying marginalized voices, turning whispers into roars. This was what she craved. Not just for herself, but for everyone who had been silenced. But just as Mary felt grounded in her vision, Jessica seized the moment to reclaim her power. "Change?" she hissed, stepping closer. "You think you can build something on empty words? You honestly believe these people will risk their reputations for your cause?" Her voice rose, mingling indignation with fear, stirring up the crowd again. "No, they will." The woman from the back shot back, bold and unwavering, her eyes glinting with passion. "Because we're tired of waiting. We'll tie our voices together and demand a seat at the table." Cheers erupted, and Mary's spirit soared higher. Here they were, their emotions raw and palpable, each heartbeat echoing their unified hopes. Yes, they were different, but they were exactly who they needed to be in this moment and for the future. David stepped forward, eyes gleaming, ready to act. "Let us organize. Tonight we begin brainstorming ideas. Perhaps a movement, a campaign, something that can show the world we mean business. No one ever changed the world by staying quiet." Excitement swirled through the crowd again, nudging them toward collaboration. Hope created a tangible connection among strangers as they exchanged contact information, shaking hands with newfound purpose. Mary felt alive, a piece of her that had been dormant for too long now shining brightly. She caught David's eye, and a smile bloomed on her face. He felt that spark, too, an ember stoked into a flame. But then, amid the euphoria, a sharp realization cut through the air. What obstacles awaited them? Could their alliance withstand the scrutiny of a world that thrived on power and privilege? Her heart raced, tension creeping back in. Just as she was about to voice her thoughts, the doors swung open, and a figure emerged, a tall man clad in a sleek black suit, a mix of calm and chaos emanating from him. The crowd hushed instantly. Was he friend or foe? With the gaze of everyone now on the mysterious newcomer, Mary braced herself for what came next. This moment could deal a serious blow to their momentum or catapult their movement forward. Either way, they were in for the ride of their lives. Who was this man, and what did he want? The silence was thick, almost suffocating. Mary felt her heartbeat quicken as the man stepped further into the room. He scanned the crowd with an expression that was difficult to read. Was it curiosity, disdain, or something else entirely? The air was charged, and everyone could feel it. "Good evening," he began, his voice smooth and commanding. "I'm Eric Jameson." He paused for effect, letting his name sink in. Around the room, recognition sparked in faces. Eric Jameson, the billionaire known for his philanthropic efforts and controversial investments. Mary's stomach nodded. She had seen him on the news, but never thought he'd turn up here. They were just starting to find their footing, and now a figure like him could topple everything in an instant. "Change is not easy," he continued, stepping closer to the makeshift stage where Mary and David stood. "It requires sacrifice and a realistic approach to the challenges at hand." His gaze locked onto Mary. "But I want to know, what exactly do you plan to do?" There it was, the question that hung ominously in the air. Mary felt exposed, the weight of his gaze tightening her chest. She had envisioned this moment would be filled with cheers and applause, not an interrogation. She stammered, catching herself quickly. "We want to create awareness, bring together diverse voices, and push for social justice through our actions. We believe people will rally behind us if they feel they matter. This isn't just about us, it's about everyone." He nodded, but didn't he smile? "And when the headlines come out, and they will, what are you going to say to those powerful factions you're trying to challenge?" He leaned in slightly, intensifying the scrutiny. "How will you ensure your message spreads beyond this room?" Mary felt the heat rise in her cheeks, but the whispers around her began to shift. People clung to his words, some nodding in agreement, while others murmured doubts. Was this the moment it all unraveled? "We will use social media," David jumped in, trying to seize the initiative. "We will gather support through outreach and community forums. Everyone is a part of this. Everything starts with small steps." Eric raised an eyebrow, unconvinced. "You underestimate the power of opposition. You'll need strategy, And most importantly, funding to sustain your efforts. Without that, this will fizzle out before it begins. His voice held an undercurrent of skepticism that was hard to ignore. Mary's heart sank. She glanced at Jessica, still in the crowd, her expression unreadable. Would they seize this moment or fold in the face of doubt? The crowd had rallied, but could they remain resilient when confronted with reality? Look, Mr. Jameson, she finally said, determination flooding her words. We're not asking for handouts. We want genuine engagement. We might start small, but we have the will to expand. Isn't that worth something? A flicker of interest crossed his face, but it was quickly masked. It's worth something, he replied slowly, but passion alone doesn't change the world. What's your plan beyond tonight? Mary opened her mouth, but the weight of her thoughts trapped her. She felt trapped between the vision she had and the harshness of reality. Were they really prepared for what lay ahead? Look, he continued, seemingly sensing her hesitation. If you're determined to make this work, I can offer some resources. Maybe I can connect you with people who know how to build a movement. That took Mary completely off guard. The crowd buzzed with anticipation, eyes darting between them. Was this a lifeline, or a trap? A deep-rooted fear gripped her, a fear of selling out or losing the heart of their mission. Before you say anything, he added quickly, don't make a decision based on emotion. Think it through. Understand the implications. That was it. The room felt electric, everyone hanging on her next words. The moment felt monumental, and Mary knew this could either be a step forward or a fork in the road. Will you all stand with me whatever decision we make? She shouted to the crowd, searching their faces for a sign of affirmation. The room erupted in shouts of agreement, voices blending into a powerful roar that surged through her. And there, in the chaos of clashing emotions, Mary understood the choice she had to make. Eric straightened, waiting for her answer. The crowd held its breath, and in that moment, everything felt too big, too important. What path would she choose? But before she could respond, the doors swung open once more, and another figure loomed in the entrance this time, a fierce woman with a camera in hand, capturing every moment. What was she going to reveal to the world? The woman stepped into the room, her camera snapping every glance and whisper. She had an air of confidence that sent a wave of uncertainty through the crowd. Mary's heart raced. Why was she here? What would she do with this moment? Who's that? Whispered a voice from the back. The murmurs began to swirl, a storm of speculation. Mary's mind raced. If this was going to make headlines, everything hinged on how they were viewed right now. Let's just focus, David said under his breath, trying to steer Mary back to the matter at hand. But it was hard to ignore the unease that spread like wildfire. The journalist raised her camera, capturing Eric's poised demeanor and Mary's look of concern. Mr. Jameson, she called out, her voice cutting through the tense atmosphere. The people deserve transparency. What is your true motivation for helping this movement? Eric turned to her unfazed. Motivation doesn't matter if the outcome is beneficial, he replied coolly. But there was a flicker in his eyes. Did she strike a nerve? Mary felt a tremor of fear. Would this woman's questions leave them vulnerable, tearing down the fragile trust they just built with Eric? Or could it ignite an even greater fire beneath them? We want a collaborative approach, Mary interjected, her voice louder now, filled with resolve. If you're digging for dirt, know we're here to uplift, not to get knocked down. The goal is bigger than any one of us. The camera flashed again, and a slow smile spread across the journalist's face. That's quite a bold stance, she replied, raising an eyebrow. But how can this grassroots effort survive the corporate machine that dominates public discourse? How will you protect your message from being twisted? The crowd shifted, some nodding thoughtfully. Others frowned, struggling between hope and skepticism. It was a sea of uncertainty, and the waves felt like they were crashing down on Mary. By keeping our integrity, David chimed in, his voice steady but soft. We need transparency, and we need to stay true to our core values. That's our strength. Mary stood taller, catching the warmth in David's voice. There was power in their united front, but doubts swirled in her mind. What if the spotlight turns toxic? She wondered. What if they paint us as a fad, a fleeting moment destined to fail? Another ripple of conversation pulsed through the audience. Eyes darted from Mary to Eric, then back to the journalist. She could feel the pressure mounting, and the stakes soared. What would happen next? Mr. Jameson, the journalist urged, turning back to Eric. If you truly believe in these young visionaries, will you put your name and your money where your mouth is? A heavy silence followed her bold inquiry. Mary felt everyone hold their breaths, the tension palpable. This was the crux of it, the moment of clarity. Would Eric show them that he was serious about standing behind their cause? Eric's gaze shifted slightly. As if he were weighing his options, the room waited for his answer with bated breath. Finally, he leaned in closer, his expression unreadable. I'll support the initiative, he said, locking eyes with Mary. But understand, this is no safety net. You'll need to prove that you're worth the investment. He paused, letting his words sink in. You'll be watched, very closely. Mary searched his face for a glimmer, a hint of sincerity. Was this a true alliance, or a calculated gamble? The tension in the air thickened as their paths fused, but doubt still loomed. And then Jessica stepped forward, her expression fierce. Then let us show everyone who we are, and what we're capable of. The crowd erupted into cheers, their voices swirling into a whirlwind of affirmation, and Mary felt a rush of relief and determination. Yet, as they celebrated this unexpected turn of events, the journalist's camera flashed again, capturing the joy in that moment. But what would happen when the world saw it? Mary's throat tightened. Were they ready for the storm that might follow? Outside the door, a group of people lingered in the shadows, each watching intently, waiting for the right moment to step into the light. Who were they, and what would their involvement mean for Mary's mission? The cheers filled the room, a vibrant echo of hope that surged through Mary like electricity. But with each shout, her heart hammered a warning. Could they really sustain this momentum? Or would the pitfall of celebrity exposure drag them down? Mary, you all right? David's voice broke through the noise, concern etched across his face. He stepped closer, the energy in the room waning for a moment. With his supportive gaze, Mary felt a flicker of her determination reignite. Yeah, we need to be on guard, she admitted, her voice a soft murmur beneath the weight of their circumstances. What if they twist our words? What if they turn us into a scandal? David nodded, understanding the gravity of her fears. We need to stay clear about who we are. No matter how they try to frame things, our truth is our strength. I hope you're right, Mary whispered, casting a fleeting glance toward Eric, who had taken a step back from the spotlight, allowing the audience to swell around them. He seemed both a part of this movement and above it, like a puppet master watching his stage. Just then, the journalist prepared to wrap up. Your optimism is refreshing, she said, her sneer barely veiled. But as the news travels, there's a chance it might become sensationalized. Are you ready for that? Audience perception can shift quickly. The crowd's energy turned tentative, wrapped in her words like a thick fog. Murmurs bubbled through the space, a chorus of concerns. Mary drew a breath, her palms clammy as if sensing the tension. Eric raised his hand, the gesture seizing the room's focus once more. Let them talk, he said, the authority in his voice cutting through their worries. We need to stay loud enough to drown out the noise. The crowd began to rally once again, gathering strength from his confidence. But for Mary, amidst the applause, the shadows outside the door loomed large in her mind. What if they were about to face something they weren't prepared for? Then, without warning, the door swung open. The murmurs ceased abruptly as a group entered, faces that looked both familiar and foreign. A young woman in a sharp suit stepped forward, commanding attention. Her steely expression carried an air of authority. Sorry for the interruption, she began, her voice smooth yet challenging. I'm Vanessa. I represent a consortium interested in your movement. We've been following your progress. Mary's heart raced again, but for different reasons now. Her instincts bristled. What kind of interest? she asked, trying to keep her tone even despite the alarm bells ringing in her mind. Vanessa smiled, a calculated expression that barely reached her eyes. Investments. Potential partnerships. We admire what you're trying to build. The question is, are you ready to expand and scale quickly? Because opportunities like this don't last. The air thickened with shadows again, but the crowd began to buzz in excitement. Everyone turned to Mary, waiting for her reaction. Would she embrace this potential alliance, or push back against the unknown? Before she could respond, Eric leaned toward her, an intensity in his gaze. This was his world: the corporate intrigue, the enticing prospects of investment. But did they share the same values? Could they trust Vanessa? Think carefully, Mary, he whispered, as thriving possibilities danced in the air. This could elevate everything, but at what cost? Just then, Jessica called out, her voice rising above the confusion. Are we here to serve our mission or to be pulled into someone else's vision? The uncertainty writhed in the air. Mary felt the weight of every expectation on her shoulders. No pressure, right? What did it really mean to stand their ground now, with so much at stake? And lurking outside, the onlookers continually watched, waiting for their moment to strike. As Mary squared her shoulders, determination surged through her. But one question hung like a storm cloud overhead: could they hold on to their mission, or would the lure of shiny promises lead them astray? The room crackled with tension, everyone waiting for Mary to make a decision that would steer their future. Vanessa's poised demeanor was in stark contrast to the emotional whirlwinds spinning inside her. Was this the moment they had been waiting for, or simply a well-packaged trap shrouded in promises of success? Mary, David urged, sensing her hesitation. We need a plan. Whatever happens next, we need to prioritize our mission. Mary bit her lip, eyes darting between Eric's hopeful gaze and the expectant faces around her. The excitement in the room was infectious, yet it felt like a double-edged sword. What if the price of partnership was too high? Vanessa stepped forward, her confidence unwavering. Think about what you could achieve with our backing, she said, her voice smooth as silk. You could reach more people, affect real change. Isn't that what you want? It was tempting. The thought of being able to amplify their message, to spread hope to the farthest corners of the community, tickled the edges of Mary's mind. But it also gnawed at her gut. And what's the catch? She demanded, her tone sharper than intended. A flicker of surprise crossed Vanessa's face before she quickly masked it with an unyielding smile. No catch, just a chance to build a brighter future together. Can't you see the potential? Mary stared into the crowd, faces filled with ambition and uncertainty. She could feel the pulse of their hopes thunder in her ears. But would they be selling out? Let us vote, Jessica's voice broke through, steady and clear. Let us see where everyone stands on this. Nods and murmurs of agreement echoed around the room. It made sense, democracy in action within their small revolution. But as the votes were cast, Mary's heart raced with dread. What if the outcome pushed them towards a path that contradicted their beliefs? Each hand raised felt like a countdown, transforming the spark of hope into a burning fuse. I want to be honest, Mary started, her voice faltering. If we go this route, we risk losing our identity. We've built something beautiful right here, with integrity. The crowd started to murmur again, uncertain. Perhaps that was what Vanessa noticed, how people were swayed by the idea of prosperity. A glint of triumph brightened her eyes. Change requires sacrifice, she interjected, with a soft yet firm tone. Only those willing to change will truly flourish. David chimed in, but we created this movement around trust, respect. We can't let anything or anyone compromise that. As the echo of his words settled, a familiar face emerged from the crowd. Linda, someone who had been with them since the early days. She raised her hands, bringing silence. We have to stay true to who we are. Isn't that what makes us different? If we forget that, then what's the point? Mary's heart swelled, renewed by Linda's spirit. Briefly, she felt united with everyone around her. Not just a group chasing fame, but a family. Yet, as she looked back at Vanessa, her gut twisted again. Another vote was called. Hands would rise and fall, and whatever the outcome had the power to reshape everything. The air grew thick with anticipation. Mary closed her eyes briefly. What if they made the wrong choice? But as soon as she felt the heat of uncertainty, a calm washed over her. She could feel it, the very essence of what they all stood for. As the voting unfolded, she wondered, would the commitment to their ethics be the one thing that shielded them from the noise of the world outside? The votes finished, and the results loomed overhead like a guillotine. All eyes were on Mary now, and as silence hung like a tightrope, one lingering thought pierced through her mind. Would they rise together or crumble under the weight of ambition? And before she could breathe again, Eric's eyes locked with hers, a flicker of conflict bubbling just beneath the surface. What if success came with conditions that shattered their unity? As the final vote counted down, Mary could feel the weight of every gaze locked onto her, the anticipation palpable. It was as if time itself had come to a halt, and all the hopes and dreams of the group were suspended in that one moment, waiting, just waiting for her to announce the path they would take. She opened her mouth, ready to speak, but the words wouldn't come. Panic surged through her. What if the vote leaned towards a decision that could change everything for the worse? What if Vanessa's vision was exactly what they didn't need? Mary, Eric whispered, his voice a desperate lifeline pulling her back from the brink of indecision. The concern in his eyes was honest, piercing right through the cloud of doubt filling her mind. He knew the stakes. Taking a deep breath, Mary steadied herself. She glanced at the faces around her. Each member of their community clung to their shared history, their struggles, and triumphs. She remembered the long nights working tirelessly to gather support, the endless meetings filled with laughter and heartache. That wasn't just a movement, it was their lifeblood. Okay, she finally said, her voice cracking with emotion but firm enough to break the silence. The votes are tallied. But before I announce the result, I need to share what's on my heart. Mary allowed the words to flow. We've fought hard for what we believe in, and we've built something that matters. Many people would see the path offered by Vanessa as an easy way to success. But we must remember success is not everything. It can come at a cost. We risk losing what makes us who we are. A murmur ran through the crowd, tension tangling with understanding. She turned to Vanessa, still standing confidently, arms crossed. We can't solve our community's problems with just promises of money or fame. Our strength lies in our unity and integrity. If those fade, so will our cause. As the room simmered with emotion, Mary felt a flicker of pride swell in her chest. She wasn't alone in this fight. This was their long battle, and they could make it through together. With every ounce of energy, she announced, I believe we have voted overwhelmingly to stand firm in our values. If the results show otherwise, we will take it as an opportunity to reflect and reinforce what truly matters. Where's the vote, Mary? Jessica called out, her voice slicing through the tension, igniting the group back into the moment. Mary took a deep breath again and quickly recounted the results. 11 votes for seeking a partnership with Vanessa, and 12 votes against. We have chosen to remain true to ourselves. A cheer erupted in the room, intertwining with hugs and tears of relief. Jessica's face lit up with pride, while Linda beamed at Mary with unwavering support. Eric stepped forward, squeezing her shoulder, his smile radiant. But Vanessa's expression fell. The confidence that had once glimmered was replaced with a storm of disappointment. You've made a mistake, she replied, her voice icy. Opportunities like this don't come around often. You'll see the consequences of this choice. Mary felt a chill run down her spine. Their joyful moment was tainted, a dark shadow hovering just beyond reach. What kind of consequences was Vanessa talking about? As she scanned the room, excitement danced in some eyes while others still harbored uncertainty. The victory felt fragile, hanging by a thread. In the aftermath of their decision, Mary knew the fight was only beginning. They could have turned a corner towards greatness but instead chose the rough, winding road ahead to preserve their values against the tide of ambition that threatened to engulf them. And as whispers of doubt threaded through the group, a question loomed in the air, leaving patches of uncertainty. What new obstacles lay ahead, and how would they face the storm brewing beyond their small circle? The gala had shifted from a spectacle of wealth to a battleground of ideals. The night began to taper, but the energy crackled with unresolved tensions. Mary stood resolute among the faces, reflecting a whirlwind of hope and trepidation. It was as if they'd collectively chosen a path carved from the strength of their convictions, a path illuminated by solidarity, not glitter. She stepped closer to David, who seemed both proud and apprehensive. Their hands grazed, a silent acknowledgement of their shared purpose. "We did the right thing," she whispered. "We stayed true." "I believe that," he replied, searching her eyes for certainty. "But the real battle begins now. Vanessa won't just walk away." That chilling truth echoed in the pit of Mary's stomach. As if on cue, the cheers dimmed, and the room hushed when Vanessa strode forward, her confidence reassembling into something sharp and cutting. "You think this is over?" she exclaimed, her voice laced with venom. "You've made a powerful enemy tonight. The rest of the world doesn't operate on your cozy little beliefs." As she turned to leave, Mary felt a wave of dread wash over her. An enemy? Suddenly, the weight of their decision intensified. But as she gathered her thoughts, another familiar face emerged from the back of the room. Jessica, the student turned heiress, was now shedding layers of her privilege. She stood, eyes blazing. "You know something, Vanessa?" Jessica interrupted, her voice shaking but resolute. "You could learn a thing or two from us. Life isn't just about accumulation. It's about connection." She glanced at Mary, and a solid foundation built from years of friendship and heartbreak reflected in her eyes. Mary's heart soared. Perhaps this wasn't just victory over the temptation of wealth. It was an undeniable collaboration that began with two girls who once lived parallel lives that felt impossibly apart. The crowd shifted from uncertainty to warmth, rekindled by shared purpose. They began to voice support for Jessica and Mary's vision. Murmurs of "We stand with you, and together, we'll create change," filled the room. Mary drew a deep breath, feeling buoyed by the tide of community. David stepped up, his confidence improving the air. "Let us channel this momentum into action. We have accomplished so much together. We need a plan. Social media, town halls, community meetings, let us get the word out." As if her heart ignited, Mary felt energized by his words. "And we need people. Volunteers, leaders willing to empower others. We'll take our message to every corner." With renewed enthusiasm, ideas sparked around the room. An older gentleman spoke up, "I'm a retired teacher. I can set up workshops." A woman chimed in, "I own a local cafe, and I'd love to host meetings." The room buzzed with conviction. The night shifted from a place of reactions to a foundation for action. As Mary glanced at David, she saw something shift in him to a determination forged in hope and mutual vision. Yet, lurking in the shadows of the room, the journalist was furiously jotting down every word. She raised her camera again. "What about the consequences you feared, Mary?" she asked bluntly, diving into the tension. "How will you handle backlash from those with more power?" Mary knew this question would spark doubt, and something deeper stirred within her. She lifted her chin confidently. "Expect it," she began, "and embrace it. Every movement has faced challenges and false narratives before. We'll rise above them. Our mission isn't about popularity. It's about connecting with real people, and it begins here." A wave of applause broke out, echoing against the walls, driving the truth of her message home. In that instant, Mary knew they were truly committed to moving forward. As the gala faded into memory, blossoming with promise, Mary understood it was no longer about her or David alone but everyone in that room. They were allies, weaving the community fabric stronger, thread by thread. And while Vanessa was a threat, her words couldn't drown out their unity. With newfound resolve, Mary inhaled deeply, feeling gratitude swell in her chest. "Together, we can build something that lasts," she declared, looking around the room, embracing all the faces mingled with determination and faith. "This is the moment where our work truly begins." The applause rang louder, moving from tentative to thunderous. Jessica's smile glowed brighter than ever. David stood tall beside her, his eyes sparkled with hope. They joined as a family in a promise to seek change beyond their own journeys. And as the camera clicked, capturing their shared moment of defiance, Mary felt invigorated, recognizing the bond of shared humanity that would carry them beyond glitz and glamour to voices that truly mattered. The crowd around her transformed into a collective heartbeat, real, strong, and alive. This was it. This was the beginning of something they could all believe in together. To stay part of this journey, you need to subscribe now. This is your moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us grow. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this inspiring journey. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Let us inspire real change together.